There are many ways that you can speed up your workflow in Lightroom, and we're going to take a look at 10 of those ways that you can speed things up and also improve the overall quality of your editing. The first speed up that we can look at is making your sliders more precise. So by default, this tab is minimized. So just hover the mouse pointer over the edge and drag it all the way over to the left, and then that extends the sliders and ultimately makes them much more precise. And the second tip is a way of applying auto settings, but without applying them to the whole image. So you've probably seen this button here where you can click on there and Lightroom will apply the settings that it thinks suit the image best. And that can be a great starting point when you're first getting started in Lightroom. But if you don't want to change all of the settings, you can just hold down the Shift key, and then if you double click on the slider, it will change that individual setting to what it thinks it should be. So if there's something you're unsure of, you can just focus on that individual setting. And the third tip is that obviously we can reset the image here by clicking on the reset button and it takes it back to the original state. But sometimes you don't want to reset the whole image. You just want to quickly reset a couple of sliders, but it can be a bit laborious trying to drag it back to 0. So the quickest and easiest way to do that is to simply double click on the name of the slider and that resets the individual setting for you. So the fourth tip is how to rate your images really quickly. So you'll see here that this image is already set to 5 stars. So if I wanted to cancel that, I would just hit 0 on the keyboard, and then I could just hit 1 to give it 1 star, and then going up to 5, I can give it 2, 3, 4 or 5 star ratings. So you can have a system where you give images different ratings for different reasons. Now there are also color labels that can be added to images as well, and these run from 6 up to 9. So 6 makes it red, 7 is yellow, 8 is green, and 9 is blue. And if you just want to reset that color, or remove it should I say, just hit the same key and it removes it. So if I was to make that red, if I just hit 6 again, that removes that color label. So really quick and easy way of rating your images. And you can also use the arrow keys on your keyboard to move from image to image. And for the fifth tip, we can instantly show any shadow or highlight clipping in the image. And of course you have the histogram, which is a fantastic tool for checking exposure and any clipping at either end of the scale. But just by left mouse clicking on these two boxes here, so the left, that shows the shadow clipping, and on the right that shows the highlight clipping. So we've got a tiny amount of clipping there on that no entry sign, but if I just increase the whites, you'll see that we get more red across the image, and if I increase the blacks, we're getting more blue across the image. So that's a very quick visual way of seeing any clipping. And for tip 6, we're going to stay on the subject of clipping, and what we can do when working with the highlights, shadows, whites and blacks is when moving these sliders across, if you hold down the Alt key, that shows any clipping that's occurring. So if we just go down to the blacks and whites, that's going to show much more clearly. So as I increase the amount of blacks in the image, you'll see there we have varying degrees of clipping. So the purest black is completely lost, and then as the colors are getting darker, that shows the scale of the clipping. And on the whites, it's the opposite way. So we're working to the white. So that's a really handy tool as you're increasing or decreasing those 4 sliders. And also it does work with the exposure as well. So once again, it's a way of just making sure that you're not losing any detail if you don't want to. For the 7th tip, we're going to take a look at Lights Out, which is a mode where we can hide all the controls of Lightroom so that we can just focus on the image. So if you hit L on the keyboard, you'll see there that the first press just darkens things off, but we can see the controls. A second press, we can just see the image, so I can zoom in, have a look around without the distractions of everything around. And then once I press it again, it takes us back to the normal state. So it's just a really handy way of viewing images in isolation. And if you're looking at a couple of images at the same time, that will work with Lights Out too. So for tip number 8, we're going to look at a way that we can view an instant before and after of your image. So we can look at the original RAW file and then come back to the processing that we've applied so far. And this is simply achieved by pressing the / key. So there, that shows the before image, and then pressing it again brings us back to the after. So we can just see how much an image has been processed. For tip 9, we're going to take a look at how to match the exposures across a number of images. So if you've shot in the same situation and the exposure has changed slightly from one shot to the next, but you want to quickly and easily match them up, or if you've shot for a technique like focus stacking where you need all the exposures to be the same, this is the quickest, easiest way of matching them up. So with the main image that you would like the other images to match up to selected first, hold down the Shift key and then just click on the last image that you would like to match up. If it's a few that are scattered around, just hold down the Control key on a PC and click on each individual image, or on a Mac you would hold down the Command key. So then all that we need to do is go up to Settings, Match Total Exposures, and then the exposure in all of these other images here are matched to the exposure in this first shot. So a very useful time-saving technique there. And finally, for the 10th technique, we're going to look at how to perfectly level the horizon and also how to do it extremely quickly. So just click on the crop tool icon and then click on the straighten tool. And then if the horizon isn't straight, I'm going to use this line here as my horizon. Just left mouse click, drag that out, and there you'll see we get an instant straightening of the horizon. And then once we close the crop tool down, everything's perfect. So there are 10 tips to help you achieve a faster workflow in Lightroom with more precise control over the settings.